Hi everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're stopping by for the first time, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button. So this detachable cape is currently trending, and in this video I'll be showing you guys how I made this from the drafting to the sewing process. So if you've been looking for how to make this either for yourself or for someone else, search no further because you're at the right place. And without further ado, let's jump right into the video. From the edge of my paper here, I'm going to come down by 2 inches. So from here to here, I'm going to mark half of my shoulder measurement. So my shoulder measurement is 16 inches. Half of that will be 8 inches. Then I'm going to come down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope right here. Then from this point, I'm going to mark half of my armhole measurement. So 16 divided by 2 is 8. So I'm going to mark that right here. So from here to here, I have 9 inches. I'll come to this place and mark the 9 inches and then mark half of my shoulder measurement here so that I can get a straight line. Then I'll connect the points together. So from here, I'm going to mark straight like this. So for the neck width, I'll be using 3 inches. Then I'm going to connect these 2 points like this. Then on this line here, which is my chest line, I'm going to mark a quarter of my bust circumference measurement. So that would be 40 divided by 4 is 10. So I have 10 inches here. So I'm going to extend this line a little bit like this. Now for the length of the cape, I'm going to make it 12 inches. So you can make yours shorter if you want, or even longer, but mine will be 12 inches. So I'm going to mark that here and then connect the points together. Okay. Now we're going to be extending this shoulder slope line by 4 inches. So I'm going to do 4 inches. So you can do 3.5 if you want, but I did mine by 4 inches. And then from here, I'm going to connect to this point right here. Okay. Now, at this point right here, where I marked a quarter of my bust circumference measurement, I'm also going to mark 4 inches like this. Then I'm going to try to connect the points together like so. So I'm going to do that in form of a curve. And then try to make a straight line like this. So I can go back in and just make it a little bit curvier than before. And then I'm going to extend this point like this. So on this line right here, you can choose to measure what you have right here on your chest line. So what I have is 14. So I can mark that 14 inches and then do like a straight line here. But I'm going to extend it a little bit by half an inch. Then like this. So this is for the front. After cutting the front, after drafting the pattern for the front, I'm going to draft out the pattern for the back. Now for the neck area, I want to create a built-up neckline. So remember I marked 3 inches here initially. So I'm going to first of all go upwards by 1 inch like this. So remember I came down from the edge of my pattern paper by 2 inches to give me the top line for my measurements. So I came upwards by 1 inch. Now from this 1 inch, I'll go inwards by half an inch like this. Okay, so go up by 1 inch, come inwards by half an inch, and then from this point, I'm going to come inwards by half an inch like this. So 1 inch here, half an inch inwards, then half an inch inwards like this. And I'm going to connect those points like this and blend it into my shoulder slope line. So you can choose to do that with a ruler or you can do that freehand. So let me try to do that with my ruler. Okay. So this is what I have. Then for the neck depth, for neck depth, I'll mark 2 inches. And then I would connect the points together like this. So this is the neckline for the front. So I'm going to cut this out right now. So right here where I marked the length of my cape, I'm going to come inwards by 2 inches like this, and then connect this 2 inches point to this my neck depth area. So I'll go ahead and cut it out now. Yeah, so this is for the front. Next thing is to cut out the back. Why cutting out the back? I didn't know that my microphone stopped recording, but I'm going to do a voiceover over all I explained why drafting at the back. So I had a leftover pattern paper here. So just like I did for the front, I'm going to be marking out exactly the same thing for the back. So at this point, I just went up by 2 inches just to get the top line for all my measurements. You can actually draft both your front and back on the same pattern paper, but for the purpose of the tutorial, I drafted out the front separately from the back. So back to the back pattern, I am going to just continue marking out the 2 inches like this. If you see me moving my hand, that's because I was explaining, but I didn't know that the microphone wasn't recording. So I went ahead to mark half of my shoulder measurements, which is 8 inches, came down once by 1 inch, and then marked my chest line, as you can see right there. It's basically the same thing I did for the front that I'm just replicating for the back. That's why I said you can actually draft both front and back on the same pattern paper. So I went ahead to mark out my chest line, as you can see right there. And on that line, I also went ahead to mark half of my shoulder measurement, which is 8 inches, and connected that point upwards to my shoulder slope line like this. And remember that the length of the cape is 12 inches. So I went ahead to mark the 12 inches like so, and I squared the line across. The next thing I'll be doing is to create the neckline for the back. So the neck width is 3 inches, just like I did for the front. And then I connected my shoulder slope point like this. Now I would also extend here by 4 inches and also extend my shoulder slope line like so. So this is to create that off-shoulder sleeve that you can find on the cape. Now on my chest line, I marked a quarter of my bust circumference measurement and added extra 4 inches. Now the 4 inches is as a result of the 4 inches that I added at this point right here. So I marked that and I connected the points together like this. Now on the chest line, I have 14 inches. Now moving downwards, I'm going to mark 14 and a half. This is because I'm going to be adding a dart at the back area. So the extra half inch that I'm adding there is going to compensate for the dart allowance. But if you don't want the darts, go ahead and just mark exactly what you had on your, or you have on your chest line right there at the length of your cape. Next thing is to connect those points together. You can see that I am short of pattern paper. So I just went ahead to cut a pattern paper and just added extra there. And then I went back in to connect the points together like this. After that, I just brought the front like this, and just to make sure that the lines match up, because we're going to be joining the front and back together. So everything needs to match up. So once that was done, the next thing to do is to move on to the neckline area of the back. Now I would go upwards by 1 inch. Remember, I did the same thing for the front. So I connected the 1 inch to the center back like this, and I would be going outwards by half an inch, just like I did for the front, and also go inwards by half an inch like this. Now on this line, we're going to come upwards by half an inch. Okay, so this will give us the back neckline. So I'll go ahead and connect the points together like so. After doing that, the back is ready. So all you just have to do is to cut your pattern out. Okay, so this is the back pattern, and the center back will be cut on a fold as indicated right there. So I want to create a dart right here at the cape length. So I marked 4 inches for my dart leg. So the 4 inches is half of my bust measurement divided by 2, and then the dart length is going to be 3.5 inches. So I'm just going ahead to measure 3.5 inches right there, after which I'm going to mark out the dart. So I'm going to be sewing half inch on both sides. That's a total of 1 inch. Now the next thing is to just go ahead and transfer the patterns to fabric. So this is my fabric. It's a crepe fabric, and I'll be ironing interfacing on it. So for the interfacing, I have light wadding and I have paper stay. So I'll be ironing the paper stay on the lining piece of the fabric and use the wadding to iron the main part of the fabric. This is because paper stay leaves weird crease lines that I don't like. So while cutting out your fabric, make sure to add half an inch allowance all around the center front. Now for the back, the center back will be cut on the fold. Now add half an inch all round except the center back. So I've gone ahead to cut out my pieces of fabric. So I cut out the one for the lining and also for the main fabric as well. So this is for the back. Yeah, so this is for the back. And the back is just two because I cut the back on the fold. Then for the front, I cut out 4 pieces. So I ironed my light wadding on the main fabric pieces. Then ironed the paper stay on the lining part of the fabric. So before starting the sewing process, I'm going to be sewing the darts at the back. So I just want to go ahead and mark my darts line. So my dart is at this 4 inches mark. Then I'm going to mark where the darts will end. So my dart is 3.5 inches long. So I'll do the same on this other side. Okay, guys, so the next thing to do is to take this to my sewing machine. I'm going to be sewing them by half an inch. That is 1 inch on both sides. And I'll do the same thing on the lining area too as well. This is it. Now the next thing we'll be doing is to sew the front and back together. So this is the back. So I have the main part of the back right here. So going to be placing it like this. Take this to the sewing machine, sew by half an inch all the way to this point. So the same thing, sew here, here, all the way to this point. If you want to have a button attached to the front, so this is my button, it's a transparent button. So I want to attach it to the front part of the cape. So I'll be sewing the neckline of the front by half an inch. Okay, that will be after I've joined the front and back together anyways. So I just wanted to point out that I'll be sewing a button right after this half an inch allowance that I placed here. Remember I said when cutting, you're going to add half an inch allowance around the entire pattern. Now, what I did was that I went ahead to cut out, I think 1.5 or 2.5 inches width of fabric. I folded it together and created this piece. So I'm going to be cutting out a bit of it like this. Yeah, and I'm going to be placing it right here when I'm sewing the front neckline together. So that's by the way. So for now, I'm going to just take this to my sewing machine and join the front and back together like this. So you're going to repeat the same thing for the lining too as well. So now that that has been done, the next thing is to join the neckline of both the front of both the lining and the main fabric pieces together like this. Now remember that I said that I'm going to be attaching this. If you have a white elastic band, you can go ahead and do that. But I'm going to try this out. If this is not comfortable at the end of the day, I might change it to an elastic band. I'm going to be cutting out, let me say 4 inches. My button is about 1 inch wide. So I think the 4 inches is a little bit too much. So I'll make it 3.5 inches. So I'll be placing it a little bit after this half-inch allowance below my front neckline like this. Trying to make sure that my button is able to pass through. Okay, it will pass through. Okay, so now we're going to place the lining piece over the neckline like this. Just make sure that you're sewing that you do not sew this attachment that you have right here. So just go down a little bit below the neckline, then sew the neckline by half an inch. Then come to this other part where the front neckline is. sew by 1/2 inch till you get here. Then repeat the same thing on this other side. Sew over the neckline till you get here. Then you're going to continue sewing. Then probably when you get to this point, you're going to leave an opening. Continue sewing from here till you get to this neckline area, so that you're going to flip the fabric right side out. So I've gone ahead to sew the lining and the main piece together like I explained. So while sewing the lining and the main piece together, I used my hemming gum so that when I flip it right side out and I want to iron, the edges are going to be relaxed. So I like to trim off my excess allowance because I hate to, have a bulk around there. I'll just go ahead and trim off the allowance that I have all over. But remember that I said I'm going to leave an opening to sew, to turn the fabric right side out, and then when I'm done, I'm going to close it. Now I'm going to flip it right side out. Okay guys, so I'm going to go ahead and give this a good press so that it lays nice and flat. Then I'll go ahead and then close it right here. So this is the loop that I was trying to create earlier on. You can see how neat it is. So I'll take my time to bring out the rest of the fabric and then give it a good press. So I've gone ahead to give it a good press, and you can see it's laying nice and flat. This is what the inside looks like. So this is why I prefer to use the light wording as the interfacing for the main fabric, because I use the paper stay for the lining and you can see the crease lines which I have avoided. So the next thing now is to attach your button to this point. So this is the final result. You can see how neat and how standing the cape is. So as usual, if you've learned anything from this video, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye.